Hey everyone, Retire on Dividends here. Back to make another video. A different video today. This time we're going to cover Roundhill because Roundhill recently launched their MSTR fund. And their MSTR fund is called MSTW. So let's go take a look at it and see if it's worth buying or not. So let's obviously this is the Roundhill website, roundhillinvestments.com, and they have tons and tons of ETFs. You can see here on the drop down they have thematic ETFs, income ETFs, weekly pay ETFs, core ETFs. So then there's even more. But this bucket of MSTW, it pays weekly, so it's actually under the weekly pay ETFs. So if you click that drop down, you'll see there's a crap load of them already. But obviously today we're going to focus on MSTW and see what it's all about. So obviously, so right now you can see the overview right here. So I'm not sure if that font is good enough for the video, but let's zoom in for you guys. All right. So you can see here it says the Roundhill MSTR weekly pay ETF is designed for investors seeking a combination of income and growth potential. MSTW aims to provide weekly distributions and calendar week returns before fees and expenses equal to 1.2 times the total return of MicroStrategy. So basically, it's somewhat of a leveraged fund, 120% leverage, right? So obviously 200% would be 2 times. This is really 1.2 times whatever MSTR does. All right, so let's keep going. We'll scroll down. Then it says why MSTW. Basically, their biggest selling point, because it's at the top, is that they pay distributions every week. And that's, it's kind of smart to advertise that, because lately retail investors, a lot of them, they care about the more frequent payments. And obviously right now, the popular way to pay is weekly. I know people want daily, but obviously they have to be realistic. But I'm sure daily's coming too. But for now, weekly is obviously the most popular. So they put that as the number one reason why. Number 2, enhanced exposure. So MSTW seeks to amplify returns. Again, they target 120% of MicroStrategy's weekly performance. And then this basically just says provides potential powerful combination of single stock leverage and weekly income. So, and that's all it basically says. So you can see here, and my kids are fighting. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I apologize. They launched on July 24th, which as I'm making this video, it's yesterday. Assets under management total to be, 503,000. Expense ratio 0.99%. Obviously the ticker MSTW, and outstanding shares right now 10,000. All right, nothing too exciting there. And now here are the holdings. So right now, again, there's not much there. So let's just hit download and see what else comes up. Again, sometimes they can't fit everything in the view there, but yeah, it looks like it was, plus the cash. So what you see here, market value, if you look, positive amount. So this is a long call, even though it's just for next Friday, August 1st. So they bought a call at 123. MSTR, again, as the time of this video, MSTR price is that's 123.80. That's don't even seem right, to be honest. MSTR is what, $406. So yeah, I would say this is a valuable position. However, very expensive. Again, 123.80 call. Very confusing. Actually, doesn't even make sense how they would go that deep in the money. But whatever, man. The market value, the value of this position is 5.3 million, and that's 75% of the holdings. And then they hold MicroStrategy directly, and that's 12% of the fund. But I guess that's how, is that how, again, they do 1.2x leverage, and they're either going to do that probably through owning it directly, through buying a call, or probably doing swaps. I'm surprised they don't have swaps in here right now. And then, of course, there's cash, and they'll have to hold cash on hand, all the time if they're going to pay weekly. But again, these holdings, we'll have to keep an eye on them each and every day just to see, kind of how they do or what they're holding. But again, this fund is literally brand new. So yeah, we'll double check that as time goes on. And as you know, in my daily videos, when I cover Misty, I usually cover the other funds. This will be part of it. So I will be looking at their holdings once I can figure out, of course, the formula to pull from their website. All right, so let's move on from here. Performance, nothing really to talk about there, but you can see the closing price, $50. So obviously they launched at $50, which seems to be the going rate lately. Distributions, no history, so no yield yet. Here's the distribution calendar. Their first declaration date will be August 1st, which is, as I'm making the video, it's the following Friday, 1 week away. And then their payment date, it will fall on the 5th. So obviously, if we look at the calendar, what is the 5th? The 5th is the Tuesday. So they're going for, again, another something different, payment date being a Tuesday, which again is unusual in this market right now. So, but they are listening, because I know, when you hear various, either Reddit subs or YouTube channels or Discord channels, they talk about getting paid every single day. So this is a big thing. I don't get it, to be honest. I mean, if you get paid weekly, how is that not enough? I mean, in the real world, everyone's used to getting paid either every other week or, twice a month or sometimes once a month. I mean, in reality, who the hell gets paid weekly unless you're in the union or something? So, I mean, who the hell, and again, paying daily. I'm not going to disrupt the way I invest just to get paid a little more frequent. So I really don't give a crap on the day that they pay. I mean, I do like weekly pay, don't get me wrong, but if it disrupts the fund, then don't bother, then keep it monthly. I'm not saying this disrupts the fund, but you get what I'm saying, hopefully. Anyway, so this is the distribution calendar. Obviously, yes, they pay weekly, they pay Tuesdays. And let's keep going, see what else they got. There's some documents, which we'll get into in a second. Then they got some FAQ. When did they launch? Obviously, we talked about that, July 24th. Yes, expense ratio. Right now, it says, can I trade options on this fund? It says no, options trading is not yet available. And they just mean, can they actually trade options on MSTW directly? Is Roundhill actively managed? Says yes. But, they are limited, generally expected to be limited to the fund's weekly resets. So again, active, it says yes, but once a week? I don't know. But in the beginning, of course, they're probably going to be busy when new money comes in to either buy call or buy MSTR. But yeah, on a normal basis, it looks like weekly resets is really all they're going to do, because they're just doing leverage. They're not selling calls, right? They're buying calls. But again, when you buy a call, you just kind of wait, right? And you sell calls, you're a little active, right? You sell a call, you collect the premium. Sometimes you close it early, sometimes you roll it. But again, these funds, from what I can tell, are not very active. Again, once a week, that's active, but it's not like what you see on YieldMax, where they're doing daily trades each and every single freaking day. So, I mean, I could, again, 1.2x leverage, you might as well buy MSTX, right? And that's 2x leverage. And then, I don't know. Again, we'll see how the fund works, but right from what I can see, it's just 1.2x leverage, and they pay you a distribution from whatever they make, or even if they don't make it, they'll still pay you distribution. All right. How often they pay distributions? Obviously, we know that. Do Roundhill weekly pay sell options? See right here, it says no. Roundhill weekly pay ETFs do not sell options. Instead, the fund offers uncapped. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Uncappity doodah. Oh, no, they didn't. Yeah, they did. Levered upside to to their underlying reference asset. So they want to make sure, okay, we don't sell calls, but we are uncappity doodah. So, but obviously, again, when MSTR goes down, they're not making money on the way down, right? We're making money on the way down on Misty because we're selling calls. When they go down, they ain't making money. They're going down with the ship. So, that, again, that's something to keep an eye on. And again, I'll track the daily movement on my daily videos of MSTW versus the other MSTR funds. All right, how are the weekly distributions determined? Let's see. Weekly distributions are calculated each week based on the proprietary formula that incorporates the reference assets, performance, and implied volatility. Some big words there, all right? But in the end, what the hell is the yield? How about you give us that? What's the freaking yield, brother? RIP Hulk Hogan, man. It's still crazy to hear that. So I'm going to be doing, well, those of you that follow me, I'm throwing Hulk Hogan references out all the time. And then you get down here, obviously it just shows all the various ETFs, brother. All right, now, before we get into the prospectus, let's take a look at the fact sheet. I always say who the hell wants to read a prospectus? Let's be real here. Who the hell even knows how to read at this point? I read 2 sentences. I'm like, what the hell did I just read? So that's why they have the fact sheet. The fact sheet is a beauty. You know why? Because it has pictures. It has pictures. But yeah, not this one doesn't. Let's see if it has any pictures actually. Well, sometimes they have pictures and visuals. Roundhill, keeping it a little boring, does not. Let's see what the fact sheet says. It's pretty much, though, it kind of explains what the website said. Basically, 1.2x leverage on MSTR. It pays weekly. And that's pretty much the end of it. So this fact sheet is basically, and that's a lot of crap in a fact sheet. Is that really necessary? I mean, maybe the SEC requires this, but yeah, that's a little ridiculous, man. I don't know. Again, this fact sheet really did not help me because I've read the website. It's basically the website information on there. But one thing to take a look at though is the prospectus, right? And that's what they live and die by, right? Because these are the rules. This is what they file. This is what they get approved, and this is what they go by. So if you go again to the website, you saw prospectus. Let me just show you real quick. Let me go back right here. You see it says prospectus and then summary prospectus. Obviously, I pulled up the prospectus, which is the larger document, and then summary prospectus is a shortened version of the larger version. But I always go to prospectus just in case, so we don't miss anything. Okay. So anyway, let's get back to here. So here it is, filed July 18th. Okay, great. Basically says right at the top, pay weekly distributions, weekly return approximately equal to 1.2x MSTR. So they're gonna use that word approximately. It's never always going to be exactly 1.2 times MSTR. And it says they'll rebalance weekly though, because again, I know when they talk down about the leveraged funds because they say these are not long-term holds because they have erosion in due time. But, you have to look at how often they balance too. So this balance is weekly. I think some of these others maybe only do it once a month. I'm not sure. But again, that's a big, discussion and ongoing issue that people bring up is that these are not long-term holds. So I think they wanted to clarify, again, the weekly, what's the word? Rebalancing. All right. Obviously, I'm just going to go to what I highlighted because, again, we don't read. We can't read this document. We'll fall freaking asleep. It's way too much wording. But let's do our best to not fall asleep here. And all right. So scrolling here, you can see basically the expense ratio is 0.99%, which that is the going rate on these funds, again, but they're not as active. Maybe, it's expensive to do the leverage piece. I'm not sure, but because again, you see some of these leveraged funds, they do charge, a pretty penny. But 0.99% is becoming more of the norm nowadays in this type of environment with these various funds. Moving on, let's see. Again, I assume the visual is zoomed in enough. So they're listed on the Flex exchange. And again, most of these, you see them. This is not new. And the reason is I think there's just a lot more flexibility to be on the flexible exchange, as they say. So it allows, just more, I don't know, more, like I said, more flex. I know for options, for example, there's no early assignment, but they're not selling calls really. So, but maybe there's a benefit when they're buying the calls, they get a better deal, or I think they could buy like fractions in the strike prices, things like that. Hey, but whatever, do your thing with the freaking flex. All right. And then it says here the fund will invest at least 80% of its net assets plus any borrowings for investment purposes in listed call options, including flex options. Total return, see, here's the swap agreements that utilize MSTR as the reference asset and in shares of MSTR. So right now they're doing the calls and the shares of MSTR, but they are not using the swap agreements. We'll see, if they do decide to add that later on. Because from what I understand, the swap agreements are not exactly cheap either, right? There's an expense to that because you're getting into an agreement with another company, another fund, another something, another side that you guys are paying for the agreement for them to give you essentially that leverage or whatever whatever you're agreeing to, whatever the price is, whatever the fund is. There's obviously agreement that they can utilize this for, but we'll see, man. Again, right now they're probably not using it because they don't have to. When you get into the bigger money, when the fund grows, when it becomes huge, swap agreements may be required versus, say, buying a call, again, with that very confusing deep in the money strike price, which, I mean, I don't know, man. Again, I'm going to check that each and every day, and I'll get back to you guys. But for right now, it's just weird. All right, there is no guarantee that the fund will successfully provide returns that correspond to. All right, so there it is again. No guarantee that the fund will successfully provide returns that correspond to 1.2x. So if you see MSTR, go up 10% one day, or you're going to go up 12%. Again, not exactly all the time, right? It's going to be close, but it's probably not going to be exact all the time. And they just want to make sure to point that out. All right. Let's see here. Sorry for scrolling too much. All right. If MSTR experiences a decrease in value over a given calendar week, the fund could be expected to experience a loss of approximately 20% larger than the loss experienced by MSTR. Well, yeah, it says could. Most likely will. That's a better word, right? Most likely will expect to be a loss of approximately, because again, if it's 1.2x up, it's going to be 1.2x down. So it's funny how they use the word could here. I wouldn't have used that word, to be honest, and they should probably update that. But who the hell am I? I'm not their I'm not writing their contracts here. A calendar week is measured from the close of trading on the final day of the week. Okay, so they rebalance. They start doing their thing at the close of the Friday, basically. Or if Friday is a holiday, they'll do it as a Thursday. You get what I'm saying. So they're just mentioning, and that says here if Thursday is the last day of the week, blah blah blah. But yeah, we figured that anyway. So let's keep going. Okay, here I highlighted a bunch of stuff. So let me just read it off to you. The amount of each week's distribution is based upon a formula, again, with their big words, that incorporates a number of dynamic market-based inputs, including the recent total return of MSTR shares and implied volatility of MSTR shares. Okay. So what does that tell us? Nothing. Thank you very much. Accordingly, the fund's weekly distribution should be expected to change from week to week. All right, we expected that. The advisor intends for a significant portion of the fund's weekly distributions to be characterized as return of capital. Well, again, nowadays, that's not a big deal. In fact, we welcome it. Why do we welcome it? Because we don't, it gets taxed differently. In fact, it doesn't get taxed at all unless your taxable cost basis goes to zero. But again, when you get paid a return of capital in the normal sense of the language, in the non-ETFs, yeah, that's like what is this crap? But no, in this world, it's very normal now, and people are getting used to it, and they really are starting to understand, the term return of capital. And then it says, though it can make no assurances this will be the case. Okay, so that's fine. I mean, they have to say that. The fund seeks to achieve its investment objectives without regard to overall market movement or the increase or decrease in the value of MSTR shares. Accordingly, the fund will not take defensive position. I think that's the key here. The fund, because people are going to ask this. So instead of asking it, obviously it's good to read the prospectus. You don't have to waste their time asking the question. Although it doesn't seem like Roundhill does many interviews lately, that at least that I have seen. But they should. But people love Roundhill. They should get out there, man. But I guess they don't even need to, because people, they do love their funds. The fund will not take defensive positions. All right. That's it. Because they're just buying a call, right? They're not doing anything else that would cause to play defense. So let's get moving here. All right. So this just talks about MSTR. It says, as of July 1st, 2025, MSTR is assigned to the Software Services Industry Group of the Information Technology Center. I mean, take that for what it's worth. Do you care? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But I just thought that was worth mentioning. Oh, I didn't highlight this. It does say it's in bold too. I probably should have. Anything they put in bold, they want you to see. Obviously, it is critical that investors understand the following. Number one, an investment in the fund is not an investment in MSTR. Well, I mean, technically, it's not, because they buy MSTR, but I mean, whatever. Number two, the fund strategy is subject to all potential losses if MSTR shares decrease in value, and may lose all of its value if the shares of MSTR decrease by 83. Interesting number there, 83.33%. Why? Well, again, the 1.2x leverage. That's why. Because if you go down 120%, it goes down 100%. It would only take them to go down 83%, if you get what I mean, based on how much they hold of the fund. I like that they do that, though. That's actually that's pretty good. Well, although they have to do that, I'm sure. Nowadays you got to be safer than sorry. All right, there's some additional information about MSTR. Here we go. Development of the Bitcoin network. My kids are just fighting. This is like the worst time to make a video, but if I didn't get it done now, this video was not happening. All right, let me keep going. Flex options. Most of this, what I'm going to scroll through, it talks about risk. I'm not saying it's not important, but if you want to read the risk part, that's on you. I don't want to put you guys to sleep. My job is to keep you awake right now. And talking about risk, look at all the pages. See, they have to cover their ass. Risk, risk, risk. How risky? Risky, 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 risk, 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 risk. The everyday investor, they see all this. They're like, hail to the no. Have fun with that leverage ass fund. All right. Oh, then we get down to management. If you're wondering who the investment advisor is, obviously Roundhill Financial Inc. And then the investment sub-advisor is Exchange Traded Concepts, LLC, or ETC, if you guys know them. And then it gives some portfolio managers, Timothy Malone, Roundhill, William Hershey, Roundhill, Dave Mazza. We're all familiar with him, right? Of Roundhill. I did interview him only once, way back, to talk about some of their funds. But those were for the other, what is it? I can't remember the tickers, but they're zero DTE funds, which are very successful. Then there's a bunch of other names here, but I'm not going to go through all of them. And then let's see what else they got. Additional information. Again, it's a lot. It's a lot of freaking pages, man. And good luck if you're going to read the whole thing. If you do read the whole thing, make a video about it, man. You probably had something that I missed. Again, I'm not reading all this. Sorry, but I'm trying to. I tried to skim through it for you guys to cover some, important things here. And then, so that's it, man. That's it. Nothing else really that I think is worth like wasting your time on. But again, that's the prospectus. That's where you go to get the information about the fund. All right. Now, again, we looked at MSTW holdings. So from what we can tell, right, it's just all they do 120% leverage of whatever underlying they choose, and they pay you weekly dividends. So if MSTR just keeps going down and down and down, they're going to keep paying you a dividend. So the fund will go down, they'll pay you a dividend, but they're not going to make money at all on the way down, which is, that's a little rough. So if you're extremely bullish on MSTR, you probably don't care. So you're probably all about this fund. However, if you think MSTR is going to trade flat some days, if you think MSTR is going to go up and then come back down sometimes, then covered calls sometimes are better. And I don't know. Again, I'm not too familiar with the Roundhill funds. This was actually a surprise to me. I didn't know that this is what they did, because everyone always talks about their funds. And what's one of the funds? I think people like the this one, the NVDW. So let's take a look at that and just look at their holdings and see what they're doing on this one. And all right, so they have a swap. See, that I'm guessing they're going to start doing swaps. Oh, so this is perfect. This makes perfect sense. See, the swap is 100% basically of whatever's in the fund. So all your money, everyone's money is in the swap, and the swap is probably 1-to-1. And on top of that, they have 20% exposure to NVIDIA. So there's your 120%. That makes perfect sense. All right. That, I'm going to pull up another one now that I'm doing this. TSLW, I'm sure that's a popular one here. Let's see what their holdings are. All right, same thing. Yeah, okay, so that'll be the norm. That deep in the money call, again, confusing the hell out of me, but it is what it is. So obviously, yeah, it's going to be swap agreements, and it's going to be, 20% exposure on the other side. So where the hell is, there it is, MSTW. And again, let's double check that maybe the download was screwed up. But no, here's the strike price, 123.80. But again, maybe it has to do with probably somewhat of, they only have 12% here. No, it's not 20%. This is only 75%. But whatever, man. Again, let's give it a few days. Let's give it a few weeks. Let's let it do its thing, and then we'll go from there. All right. But basically, when you talk about the Roundhill weekly paying funds, it is not the same as YieldMax. It is not the same as the MS2 fund from Rec Shares. And it is not the same as IMST. Like, they're not selling covered calls. They're not doing synthetic positions. They're basically doing a swap and then adding an additional 20% exposure of the underlying, and they're paying you weekly. So if all of these stocks that they're investing in, all of the underlyings simply only go up, then these funds will outperform all of them. But if we have a correction, if we have a bear market, if we have a flat market, these funds, it's not going to be, it won't be a fantastic time, But I'm not saying these funds won't work, and I'm not saying this wouldn't be a good addition to your MSTR portfolio. But I'm just, my opinion on it. And again, this is not financial advice, guys. I am not a financial advisor. And just so you know, this video is for fun and entertainment. I'm just going to give my opinion on it. And sorry, I got to take another sip of water. My opinion is, I don't fully grasp the need for this, to be honest. If you want the leverage, okay, then buy the 2x leverage fund and then sell if you need. But again, people don't want to do that. People want to get paid. They don't want to have to sell themselves. And doing the 1.2x leverage, it is a safer way, because again, if you do 2x leverage and it starts to go down, they're going to get hammered. But you saw if the fund goes down 83%, then you say bye-bye pretty much. So again, it's just an interesting, different type of fund. And I give them credit for being completely different in the space and doing something completely different. But if you ask me, am I going to sell my Misty to buy this? No way. Not a chance. not even a little. So I'm probably not going to add, to be honest, any MSTW. Maybe I'll think about it. I'll see how it performs. But in just looking at it, is it worth? I mean, I guess the 0.99%. It's for their troubles on the swap and getting the leverage for us and paying us weekly, because there's an administrative cost for that, of course. But yeah, it's nothing too hard, nothing too complicated to do. If you think about it, reality, what Misty does, I can't do. I mean, I really can't do this either. I can't obviously do a swap agreement, but I can try to leverage it myself. I don't know. Again, I'm just confused on kind of how they set this up and why they even thought of this. Maybe because it's easy to manage. One person can probably manage all these freaking weeklies. But when you look, like, for example, on an ulti, forget about it. That's a monster of a monster. So obviously they earn the expense ratio. But yeah, anyway, I wanted to get this video out and give my opinion on it. Again, I appreciate that it is different, but there's nothing that I look at this and I say, wow, this fund rules. Obviously, if MSTR is going up, when this fund launches, you guys are going to love. You're like, oh, this is so good, because it's going to pass everyone except like MST, because they're like 150 to 200% leverage. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's I don't know. It's going to be like in the middle, right? It'll be around probably similar to MS2 movement, but we'll see how they all compare. Again, I'm going to track them on a daily basis. If you don't watch my daily videos, what I do is I talk about the YieldMax trades, mainly Misty. I cover that in a lot of detail, but yeah, I'll add them to the spreadsheet, which obviously is right here. Here's the kind of like what I look at, and again, this is what I talk about each and every day, and we track this information. You can see I just added MSTW, and it had a good day. They had an up day, so they went up 0.72%, while MSTR went up 0.55%. So again, it's kind of doing what it's supposed to, even on the first day. So that's pretty impressive. But again, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it's managed. We'll see when they switch this to swaps, what's going on. And then you guys can, let me know what you think. Also, if you guys enjoy these types of videos, let me know via the comments. I know I haven't done them in a while, but I know I should make time to do this at least once a month. So if there is a particular fund that you want me to do this type of review on, please let me know down in the comments. If there's something you think I missed that you want to make sure I get in the next video, let me know that as well. If you enjoy this video, please hit the like button. If you would like to help out the channel further, feel free to share with your friends and your family. Outside of that, I pretty much got nothing. I'm not going to do a keyword, but I will ask what your guys' thoughts on this are. Are you impressed with this type of fund? If you invest in the other Roundhill funds, are you impressed? Or if you invest or didn't invest in the Roundhill funds, are you familiar with, are you aware that this is how they kind of acted? And is this what you expected? And now that you know, are you still going to invest in these funds? I know that's a lot of questions, but I'm curious on the feedback and what you guys' thoughts are. But anyway, I think that's enough for one video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll post this probably today, well, for the Wolfpack today, and then maybe Monday or Tuesday for everyone else. So it'll be a few days old at that point. But I just want to say, guys, thank you for watching. And yes, feedback, of course, is appreciated. And I hope you guys have a great day. Later.